All right, so welcome everyone to Wi-Fi Wednesdays. My name is Kevin Z. I am founder and CEO of MyWiFi Networks. And as you know, every week we meet here to talk about any new live features we have. We do some sales training, and we also answer some live Q&A. And it's also the home of the 30-day Wi-Fi challenge. And for those who have gotten started and who are succeeding and doing awesome, congratulations to you. For those who are maybe just new to the program, make sure you check out the 30-day Wi-Fi challenge video. It's posted at the top of the private Facebook group. In addition, we're going to be launching a brand new special feature, which in fact will be a new way to sell your clients. I am super excited to share this with you. We're not going to talk about it this week, but we will definitely chat about it next week. This week, I want to jump right into it and be very focused on what kind of everybody is talking about these days, which are the dreaded 4 letters of GDPR. So you only have to worry about GDPR. I want to make this very clear. If you are located in the EU or European Union, which means that you are a citizen of the EU, or you have a business in the EU and you are targeting EU customers. Okay, if you are US based and you are targeting businesses down the road and they have no connection to the EU whatsoever, you do not need to follow GDPR compliance. Okay, I want to make that clear. If you are not located in the EU, you are not an EU citizen, and you do not have any EU clients, then you do not need to follow the GDPR compliance guidelines. However, with all of this, we have created a whole bunch of new features, which I'm going to run through today, that really focus on privacy and information security, both from a guest opt-in and opt-out standpoint, and also from the ability for any guest to request their profile information, opt out, and even delete their profiles on request. So that is available to all users, regardless of whether or not they use GDPR or not. However, we built all this primarily because of GDPR and to comply with all of the new guidelines coming out of Europe. So effective May 25th, which is this Friday, which is in 2 days, all European locations will have GDPR enabled by default. So you will not be able to create a location in Europe without GDPR, safe GDPR compliance being enabled. This includes both existing and new locations in Europe. So please make sure that if you have a location in Europe or if you're an EU customer, you pay extra careful attention in the next few minutes here. So on guest opt-out, if a guest opts out to your marketing, and I'll show you how they opt out and what the experience is like in a second, we don't save any data and no automations will happen. That is if they're GDPR compliant. If you don't have GDPR enabled and a guest opts out, you still have their information, but you're not allowed to email them. Essentially, they say that they don't want to receive email, and you have to respect that. It's not only me saying it, it's actually the law. So make sure that you do abide by this. And also, we have a new guest link that allows them to opt out or request a data profile or delete their information on request, and I'll be showing you that today. So the new flow, if you turn on opt-in, and I'll show you what that is in the dashboard in a second, but if you turn it on, here essentially is what the experience is like. So when a user hits your hotspot and they're presented with their login options, after they log in, they're asked a question, and the question is defined by you along with the data that's also defined by you, and you can choose what their options are. Usually it's yes or no, or you can change the language if you want. Now, what's really important here is that you are very specific on what they are opting into and what your intentions, your true intention is with that data. So you find that inside the editor under the advanced tab. There's a new opt-in form. You can, if you enable this, you can turn on your opt-in text, have your description of that, and have your 2 options, yes or no. Separately, you can turn on the GDPR compliance field, which essentially has the users completely opt out. If you're in Europe and you have GDPR enabled, this will not save any personal information right off the bat. They're essentially saying, no, I don't want you to contact me, and we don't even save the information at all. Okay, so here's where you find it. It's right inside your campaign editor, and it can be used with or without GDPR. Again, to be clear, for those clients who have locations or clients out there, or marketers who want to really make sure that people who are opting in really want to receive information. We've had this request by many agencies. Well, now it's available. If you turn this on and you ask this and you leave GDPR compliance disabled, then this will just ask the user after they connect, hey, can we subscribe you to our email newsletter? We're going to send you an awesome coupon to save $5. Like, do you want to save money? Like, you can even have these options being like, hell yeah, or like, no, I don't like money. So obviously, what are you going to click? So that is more for like the North Americans who want to be creative with marketing. But if you're in Europe, be very raw and specific in what you're going to do. And if they click on no and your GDPR compliance, you're not going to save any data. So here's where you'll find the GDPR compliance on-off switch. It's inside the location section when you edit a new location. And if you have anything to do with the EU, like I said, you must follow these rules. This is not optional. This is mandatory. And if we ever find out or anybody ever tells us that you're not following the rules, we will investigate. And if you do not follow or if you are non-compliant, we will shut your accounts down immediately. Okay, so specifically if you're in the EU, but generally I recommend everybody should check this out. It's at our support desk. So go to wifisupportdesk.com. There you will find a new section called Privacy and Compliance. Now, what I want to do is just run through these articles very quickly with you now. As you see, some of them are still in draft, but they will all be live by this Friday when everything goes into effect. So I just want to, give you guys at least a couple days heads up on what is going to happen. So we talk about compliance and consent. So I encourage you to read this. It explains what compliance and consent is. It also explains what GDPR is. But more importantly, I think the new features that we have in the system. So the opt-in consent form, we now have a step-by-step guide on how to use this. So we explain what it is. It has the users opt in to receive messages or to understand where their information will be shared. And every user, they have to first click accept to the terms, and then you can enable this inside the dashboard and the compliance opt-in form. And again, please read these articles yourself because everything is clearly listed. So you saw that already. This is the new GDPR compliance function that you also saw. So if you enable this, this explains more of exactly what we do with the data. Guests that don't consent, it explains what we do in every scenario of users connecting. So please read through this and be familiar with it. And you'll also notice that if anybody, after they connect, we have a new seal inside the dashboard under their profile picture that says that they are GDPR compliant. So you can show this to your clients if you're in the EU. It'll make them feel comfortable that what you're doing is obviously all protected. Now, the new personal data deletion function is also primarily for GDPR users, but anyone can use this. So what we've done is created a new link by your portal. So it's your portal domain /myprofile. It's not quite live yet, but it will be in the next couple of days. So the opt-out link is yourportaldomain.com/myprofile. And there, what happens essentially is users can look up their profile. So this is only for guest users. If I've connected to, let's say, a coffee shop and I leave, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I live in the EU or I'm anywhere and I want to opt out. I don't want you to send me information anymore. And you can put this opt-out link in the bottom of people's emails as well. If you're messaging them and you want to be ultra compliant, even in North America, you can have this link in the bottom. What happens is they enter either their email or their phone, so whatever they used to connect originally. So if they use Facebook, whatever their Facebook email is, whatever their entered email is, or anything like that, and their phone number is usually their SMS, their cell phone, because this is all SMS authentication. So they enter either their email or phone. If we find a match, they get this email. So the email comes from your brand. It says you're receiving this email because you requested to view your data. And this is obviously protects against somebody typing in somebody else's email. If I type in, my email, support@mywifi.io, it's going to send a notification with this email to only support.mywifi.io. So only that person requesting it who actually has access to the email is going to be able to see this. Okay, so when I click on that button, it's then going to give me some options. So here we see the normal profile. So if I'm just going in and I want to see my normal status, this is what I'll see. I'll see my name, my email, my MAC address, my time zone, last time I connected. Now, I can also click on the button Show Visits, and it will show me every time I visited or all the visit history that we have on that user. A user can also, sorry for this little screen thing, it's because I'm zooming in. Also, the user can click Opt Out. So if a user clicks Opt Out, it will opt them out. So there's two different versions of Opt Out. For non-GDPR clients, which is most of you, if a user clicks on Opt Out, they will opt out of the program, which will essentially stop all automations and still show you their email and all their information, but they're opted out, so you're not able to communicate with them anymore. You also have to make sure that if a user opts out here, if you're using any third-party tools, that you also opt them out of there as well, because essentially, to be compliant, then they opt out. You're not supposed to email them at all anymore via the method that they used to originally share their data with you. Okay, and usually if you're sending through MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or any CRM or email provider, you also have an opt-out there, so you can sync those. And also make sure that if you're using this in the EU specifically, that you obviously comply with this or keep all communication automated. So if a user is GDPR compliant and they opt out, we will then blur and essentially anonymize and randomize. So it's like essentially delete, but not delete, just mix up so it's unidentifiable. You won't be able to see anything personal about them anymore. Okay. If a user clicks on delete data, and they want to actually delete their data in their profile, it'll actually erase their data altogether, and they won't even, they're gone. It'll show a shell of the user. We'll update the screenshot momentarily, but I'm going to show a shell of the user with no email and nothing at all in that respect. Okay, so that is the personal data deletion function. Now, I also encourage you to read through privacy. It talks about what we do as a company, and ultimately you guys as channel partners. When you read channel partner, it's what any white label is, a channel partner. So you have your own channel of sales and marketing. You manage your own client base. So this is what we do to provide you in order to keep your data integral. So we've had requests of like what happens or how is the data secure. You can use this. Feel free to copy and paste this and use it in your own marketing tools or whatever if anybody asks you. But this is what we do for data protection and security. Separately, we talk about guest Wi-Fi terms. Sometimes people ask, how are clients officially accepting this? Like, why are they able to share information? Aren't people not comfortable with that? And you can easily show this to anybody that questions that, even copy and paste this animated GIF to say that our platform is different. Like, we didn't just add this. We've had this since day one, that we make it mandatory for a user to click accept before they use the Wi-Fi. So a lot of other platforms that are now scrambling to get their stuff together to be compliant now have to add like another checkbox and their usability, and it's just horrible. We think that this big accept button with the terms very cleanly laid out tells the user right away, hey, this is what's going to happen. If you don't agree to these terms, do not connect. So from a liability and legal standpoint, this really protects you guys as channel partners. So we've always had this. This just explains a little bit more of what it is. And we're also updating our privacy policy in terms to have a little bit of snippet of the Gdpr, but that's not relevant to most of you who don't need to comply. Everything what we've had since day one has been ultra compliant from the information privacy and disclaimer standpoint. So you find this under guest Wi-Fi terms of service and privacy. Separately, we have a little bit more details about the technological privacy measures that we go through, the security controls that we have, the way that we anonymize our data, and the standards and certifications that us and our third parties use. We also talk about data portability. So the ability for users to download their connection history, their user list, or automation history. You guys can all do that right now in the dashboard. So you can download all the history you want and import that into other systems, obviously, if you'd like. That is optional, but we are also giving you the ability to do that. And then finally, the GDPR, if you want to know more about that, please read this. It explains exactly what GDPR is and exactly what we've done to prepare for the GDPR. So we are updating our terms of service, which will be ready by Friday. Also, our guest Wi-Fi terms and privacy policy. And then we added these 3 new functions: the opt-in consent form, the GDPR compliance function, and the personal data deletion function. So all of this will now protect you if you are in the EU, but even if you're not and you want to take the extra mile and be you take more attention to privacy, or really have the extra opt-in for your guest Wi-Fi users, for those clients that demand it. We explain it all here, so please go ahead and read that. Especially if you're in Europe, it's mandatory to go ahead and review that. We also talk about who does GDPR apply to. So obviously it applies to us because we do have partners and channel partners in Europe, but it also applies to the channel partners themselves. And then the Wi-Fi guests have the ability to go through and do delete their information, access their data, and export their data, which we all allow them to do in the new functionality that we just built. So I just want you guys also to appreciate how long it might seem simple as I run through this, but this was months and months of work. So a big thank you to our development team here who did an awesome job in doing this. And some of you guys, always have to remember that there is a team behind all this. These features don't just magically appear. A lot of hard work in making everything happen. So that being said, we also really went through the obligations that you need to do to also respect these rules. So it's not just us creating these rules and making it, for you guys to use. It's also anyone located in Europe or in the EU to be compliant. So here's what you need to do. And I'm actually going to read through this because this is mandatory for anyone that, any channel partner that is located, who is an EU citizen or has a business in the EU or who targets EU customers. So number 1, you have to ensure that you've implemented custom terms that feature friendly language, which is what we're doing for you already. You have to add the opt-in form to your campaigns to make sure that anyone who logs in has the extra opt-in who clicks yes. So that's the opt-in form inside your campaign in the advanced tab that we just talked about. You enable GDPR in your locations. So we do that automatically for you. It's mandatory. Determine if you're a controller or processor of data. We go into explain what the difference is between a controller or processor. Ultimately, if you're a white label and managing your own thing, then you are a controller. Okay, so you have to do that in managing your data, and you have to abide by all these rules. And you also have to email guests that you're currently communicating with and confirm their consent. So if you're already emailing clients that have connected before this Friday or May 25th, you have to re-email them and make sure that they really want to hear from you. So here you can learn more about what a controller and a processor is and what data the GDPR applies to. So here's everything that we also give users the ability to review and manage. And if anybody has any questions, our privacy officer can be reached at privacy@mywifi.io. That link is not for you to share with your clients. It's only for you guys to email us if you have any questions about privacy. And finally, the compliance process, this is when you really kind of understand how much work was involved in making this happen. This is everything in detail about how the MyWiFi platform forces GDPR compliance for its channel partners. So you can read through this if you like. I'm not going to do it now, but we talk about how we lock the on toggle for any EU-based client, how we tokenize the data, everything here. Please go through this, especially if you're in the EU. If you're not in the EU, I wouldn't bother reading this unless you're interested, obviously. But that is what we have. So please make yourselves aware for all of that. It's all located in our support desk. Go through it all, and I will be doing a video that overviews everything in shorter form, very concise by launch time, so by this Friday. Again, if you are not doing business in the EU and you don't have any presence at all in the European Union, there's nothing for you to worry about. Think about this as a new security feature, as a new privacy feature you could sell to your clients. If they want to have double opt-in, they want to really do some cool things, then that's now available to you in the dashboard. Okay. Also, just to remind you all, this slide is here. I forgot to take it out, but 30% recurring commission for life. If you want to go share our link, the link's found in that affiliate button inside your dashboard. If you share that link with anybody and they sign up with us, you'll get 30% recurring commission every time they pay us every single month. We will pay you 30% of that right to your bank account. So any questions that I can answer right now and specific to GDPR? It does not apply to Canada unless you have a location that you're managing or servicing that's in Europe, or if you are an EU citizen. We do already have a Russian language for those asking for the login option. All right, I know this presentation has been super dry because we were talking all about GDPR. I want to stay focused with this. I'm going to share some of the exciting news later for you. I wanted to just really keep this short and sweet. The new exciting stuff is our Add Device Wizard. Go in, feel free to take it for a test drive yourselves and let me know what you think about it. But I will be doing a detailed walkthrough of all that at a later point in time. I don't want to cloud this because this week's GDPR week. We got to just stay focused on this because as you guys know, if you're located in, those who are joining us just late, I see some people joining us right now. By May 25th, if you have anything to do with the European Union or you are doing any business in the EU, you need to be GDPR compliant. Please feel free to watch this replay. In addition to the new video I will be recording that will go through everything involved step by step, how to become GDPR compliant. Obviously, we are not lawyers, just to be very clear. I am not a lawyer myself, nor is anyone here on our staff. So we're not providing you any legal advice. We did engage lawyers and professional legal teams to develop our content, our privacy policy, our terms of service. But by all means, that is not your approval to go ahead and use it freely. I don't know what country you're in. I don't know what state you're in. I don't know what laws I've never heard of that you need to follow. So please have your lawyers review everything specifically, including your terms, your privacy policy, your whole experience. Make sure that you dish out a little bit of cash to your lawyer, or hopefully have a lawyer friend who can do it for you. But don't cheap out on it, because if you're going big and you're handling big clients, you want to make sure that you abide by the laws of your region. All right, any Wi-Fi questions I can get to right now? All right, on that note, I'm going to cut it at that. If you have a question that I haven't covered today, or you have something else that you want answered, please feel free to send that to support. So you can email support@mywifi.io, or you can chat with our support desk, which is usually better. Also, just to mention, make sure that when you're chatting with the support, if it's the same topic, stay within the same chat. Don't open up multiple chats. It's harder for everyone to communicate. Just keep that specific subject inside a single chat thread. If you have another topic or another question completely, You can ask it at the end of that question, or you can create a new one, but try to keep things streamlined. It'll just help us help you a little bit better. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Again, this is GDPR week, so make sure that you review all the information on our support desk. If you are in the EU, make sure you follow the guidelines after Friday. If you do not follow the GDPR guidelines, your accounts will be immediately terminated. So just keep note of that. And that being said, any questions, please direct them to our support staff. We are always here to help. And thank you all for being partners. And I will talk to you all soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.